What is up, guys? Fado82 coming at you with some footage from the US Rustopia server. This is the next edition of the Rust Tactics series in which we take a look at group dynamics and PvP skirmishes on the Rustopia server. This isn't quite enough for a raid cam, but it's nonetheless valuable footage that we can learn from. What you're taking a look at right now is some footage of a raid that's being put together by B-Chills and his group. They're attempting to raid the wrecked compound here, which is a fairly sizable compound with an absolutely massive flank tower. B-Chills and his men have either taken over or constructed some type of an enclosure here to continue to forge ahead through a high exterior stone wall. I'm not sure if they had limited building privilege and were able to build this, or if they took over a pre-existing structure, but at any rate it gives them some added privacy and protection while they go ahead and chip through that stone wall. This makes it so the defenders can't call out the positions of the raiders, and it's a very effective tactic. B-Chills didn't leave all his men in that area. He was wise enough to keep some members out here on patrol duty, but they are taking some fire from the hills and then from a lone tower that is separated by a valley. So the neighbors are in on the fight as well, and they do have a bit of a fight on their hands. And moving back over to that enclosure, you'll notice B-Chills is still hard at work on that high exterior stone wall. The members have thrown down sleeping bags, so if they need to respawn or rejoin the fight, they can go ahead and do so. If they're able to bust through that wall, they're going to be met with this, which is an uphill battle towards the main base, which is still under construction, as you can see by those twig tiles, but it does have many embrasures and places to defend from. There's also that high exterior outer flank tower that is at the top of the compound, which is going to pose a bit of a problem. Looks as though B-Chills and his crew have actually had a change of heart, a change of tactics here, and they've left the security of that enclosure, and they've become sandwiched between the high exterior stone walls of the main compound here, and then a large rock here. Notice that B-Chills' men are keeping their calm here. They're under fire from the hills and also from a lone flank tower that's separated by a valley. They're throwing down the sandbag barricades to sort of make a bit of a forward operating base on the fly here, if you will, while they're taking fire from one member who's in this tower here. It's a lone sniper who probably has some type of relationship with the wrecked crew because he is their neighbor, but he's giving a bit of a fight towards the raiders. The raiders, in an attempt to suppress that lone sniper, are sending a rocket back his way, which has hit the top of his wood tower there. Now, rockets are very, very damaging, especially to wood structures. If that had been an incendiary rocket, it would have continued to burn that tower, but it looks like actually back where the action is, where B-Chills and his group are, there's some incendiary rockets that have been fired from the wrecked crew, from the defenders, over that high exterior stone wall, which is putting some kinks in their plan of having this area with these sandbags. So the flames are difficult to stand in. They're going to kill players, so that's difficult to be able to sort of manage against. You'll notice here what B-Chills and his men have done is they've moved the position of those sandbags. They put down new sandbags, and they've also attempted here to set up a wood structure to be able to vault up over that stone wall, kind of like an older raid tower we used to see in Rust. One of Chills' members has decided to go off on his own here, which he's taken out one of the people who were sending fire back towards the raid party, but he's taken up an overwatch position here on the rocks, which gives him a vantage point of not only the tower with that lone member who was giving him some grief, but also the tower from the main compound as well. So that's a really interesting tactic to use, to have a member move down, sort of flank that tower, and then gain a better position and vantage point. That's a really effective group method, and B-Chills and his men are really dividing their group and using the members wisely here. This, guys, is absolutely an interesting thing here. So what happened was B-Chills ran out of wood for building that tower that he's trying to get up over the wall. The only tree he could get to was a tree that was in the valley, in the center of that valley, which is between the tower with that lone sniper and then the main flank tower in the main compound above. Chills is very calculated here. He's hitting a tree and then switching over to his gun, firing, hitting the tree, going back. He not only has to contend with that lone tower down there, but also the fire coming from the main compound as well. That's really cool shit, and that's kind of B-Chills' attitude with this whole thing, is like, we need it, fuck it, let's go do it now. We need wood, let's charge down there, even though that's not the most ideal spot to get it. So back up at the main compound, what's going on here is there's some rockets being exchanged by B-Chills and his group. Incendiary rockets were shot back out towards that wooden structure because the defenders here, the wrecked crew, don't want to get raided, of course. So the fires are burning strong out here. They've disrupted that position that B-Chills and his men had to sort of be able to have some safety with those sandbag barricades. And that fire also damages that wooden raid tower that's attempting to be constructed so that the members can vault up over that high exterior stone wall. Notice again that B-Chills and his men are really keeping their cool here, though. For a small squad, they're really doing an effective job of working well together, and this is really good stuff to see, guys. So they're forging ahead while those fires die out. They're continuing to build up that wooden raid tower to vault over that high exterior stone wall. They have to be very careful because of the barbed wire. J-Bones on the other side here, part of the wrecked crew, is waiting intently to place down some type of a structure to try to mitigate against what's being done here by the raiders. I'm not sure exactly what he's trying to put down, but it's probably like a spiked barricade or something to that effect where he's going to cause some type of a grief. So members of the wrecked crew have actually, one member has taken out to the hills here to try to flank B Chills and his group, and they did take a few shots and took a couple members down, but they were able to come back and get into the fight. Here, the raid tower is being constructed, and it's being positioned in a way that the ramp is, the floor tile rather, is only slightly above where the barbed wire is on the high exterior stone wall. So take note of this, guys, because it's really a very important aspect of this particular video. So, and notice again that fire that's coming in. That flank tower and that main base are high enough so that they can land fire inside that wooden tower. But notice when he placed down that twig tile, there's a little piece of metal sticking through there, and that is the barbed wire from the high exterior stone wall. So as you guys can probably hear here, the members are absolutely getting shredded by that high exterior stone wall. And as the members jump in, J-Bones was able to place down a high exterior stone wall, which helped to impede the progress of the raiders. So one raider got through, that was B Chills. As B Chills jumped down from that wooden flank tower, he fired at the same time taking out J-Bones, making his way to a rock down here. Another member was able to get their way into that main compound as well. But this is becoming a bit of a choke point here. And due to the barbed wire sticking through that floor tile, it's absolutely shredding the members when they come back up and try to get over that high exterior stone wall. B Chills and his men are adapting to this, however, though, and they're getting through that high exterior stone wall by taking a passage where there's a small spot where they can go off the corner and go down diagonally and not have to take as much damage, and they won't go straight into that new high exterior stone wall that's been placed. B Chills is now the only member who's made it alive into the inner part of the compound here. He's attempting to use his rocket launcher to blast his way either out of the compound or to open up a passageway for his men to get back through quicker, because that wooden raid tower isn't going to be the most effective means at this point in time. At this point in time, B Chills is in a bit of a difficult spot here. He's the sole raider on the ground. He has two wrecked members who have their boots on the ground attempting to flank B Chills, and they're sending suppressing fire back towards Chills in the form of incendiary rockets. B Chills is trying to use his rocket launcher to get through that doorway. Notice when he reloads the rocket launcher, he has his back pressed up against a high exterior stone wall, and he's wedged by an auxiliary building cabinet there, which is a really smart thing to do, because to reload a rocket makes you very vulnerable, and he's doing it in a way where he's mitigating the level of risk that he has. In terms of what's going on here right now, guys, B Chills is getting flanked by two wrecked members while there's incendiary rockets attempting to smoke Chills out from that rock. Now, Chills does go down here in a moment, but the level of fight that he has here and the level of chaos that he's trying to manage is really difficult to get by in the free cam footage here. If you saw his first person footage, you would realize just how much of a chaotic scene that is. Panning back out here, guys, take note of the level of intensity and heart that Chills and his members have, in that they come over this wooden raid tower, they jump over it naked, trying to get back into the fight. They run through flames, they run through bullets, they just try to get back to a body, grab an AK, and keep that momentum going. That's the biggest thing, guys, when we talk about raid tactics or tactics in general, is keeping the fight going, keeping that momentum moving forward. We've looked at raid cams much larger than this with groups of 30 raiders, and they don't keep the fight going as much as these 6 naked men are doing at this point in time. So you really can't knock the level of intensity that B Chills and his men have here. Now, Wrecked has done a great job as well. They were very quick to place down the second high exterior stone wall down there. J-Bones did that to mitigate against the raiders coming in. So both sides are doing a phenomenal job here. Now, that raid tower, that wooden raid tower, if that had been built a little bit higher and didn't clip into some of that barbed wire from that high exterior stone wall, maybe this raid would have gone a little bit differently. I think we would have saw a lot more fight in the inner part of that compound, because Chills and his men would have gotten over there with the lion's share of their rockets and the supplies that they had. And you'll notice that they're spawning back at a small raid base that they had down there in the rocks, which is pretty well hidden. Again, coming back to the fight naked. Chills is making one last valiant effort to get up over that wood raid tower, get back into the fight, and get to a body. And you can't knock a guy like this for trying as hard as he is. This is a level of playstyle that he has. He goes down, he comes back, and if you had a group of 30 people doing this, that would be pretty hard to defend against. So at this point in time, guys, Wrecked are holding their positions. They're managing against this raid exactly how they want to go ahead and do that. They're utilizing that large tower that we see right there to call out the positions of the raiders. As the raiders run up, that large tower is able to have a vantage point outside the compound as well as inside. You'll notice that they're able to take out the raiders as they come up as best they can. Some raiders do make it back up over that wood raid tower rather, but most of them are going down from the suppressing fire. So at this point in time, the raid is dwindling down. B-Chills has made his way back over from one last valiant effort to get back in here and take the fight back to the wreck compound. He doesn't have support other than himself at this point in time, and he was just taken out. But again, the level of intensity and heart that he has is commendable. At this point in time, Wrecked has come back out into the compound here, and they are neutralizing the ability for the raiders to come back in. They're putting up another high exterior stone wall to block off that little pathway that the raiders were taking in, and they're going back outside the compound now, and they're going to be taking out that wooden raid tower. Notice that at this point in time, guys, the raid has shifted a little bit, and Wrecked is now coming back out, taking the fight outside the compound. In terms of this tower, if it wasn't taken out, I can't help but think B-Chills' men would still be coming over that raid tower, whether they had gear or not gear, or no gear rather, and still taking the fight to Wrecked. It's really commendable to both sides here. I'm just so impressed by this raid cam in that everybody did everything to the best of their ability, and you really can't knock anybody for doing that. One of Chills' men is up here in a makeshift sniper's nest that he used by placing down 2 sandbag barricades, and he's sending suppressing fire back down towards the wrecked members so that B-Chills and his men can attempt to get away with whatever supplies they had in that staging base. In the footage here, guys, you're watching some skirmish that's going on in the hills right over from where that staging base was, right by the wreck base. And Chills has put down a sandbag barricade here, and there's 2 wreck members who have done the same. They're both using those barricades to their advantage. Chills is firing towards these 2 members, and he's moving up and using those sandbag barricades to advance his position. In addition to this, B-Chills has communicated with one of his members, and that member is actually coming from behind the wreck members to flank them from behind. When the wreck members go down in a moment here, I'm not sure if they're taken out by B-Chills or if they're taken out by the member of B-Chills' group who flanks them from behind, or perhaps from both. It's unclear, but very good tactics were used here. Very good communication from both sides was demonstrated throughout this footage. B-Chills in particular, with this instance, was able to call in a member to flank these wrecked members. They didn't watch their back here, and they did pay the price for that. But in general, guys, both sides did really everything right in this raid cam to the best of their ability, and that was really an amazing thing to see. As we wind down, guys, I just want to leave you with the thought that, yes, you know, it was a failed raid, but the level of intensity and heart you see from B-Chills, these are the type of guys you fear in Rust. These are the type of guys you wake up from a fever dream in the middle of the night and you just think they're raiding your base with whatever they have, and that's a really scary thought. As always, guys, hope you enjoy. Fado82, peace.